Pramod Mahajan.
You attended a party on Vajpaye's
Absolutely.
birthday. Give us a story on one of his birthday.
No, what the story
What was served? Was it vegetarian or
No,
non-vegetarian?
mostly BJP usually serves Mosambi juice.
Was
And
alcohol served?
once Mr. Vajpaye left the
Then
party,
alcohol was served.
I don't remember alcohol, but non-veg certainly
Non-veg
was.
was served after Mr.
No,
Vajpaye.
non-veg. So after he left.
Okay. Welcome back. You're watching our special presentation on the season of alliances, and this is yet another show of Chunaav ke Chaudhary. Well, 26 parties have banded together as India, 38 parties have banded together as NDA. They move up to the numeric figure of 2024, which is the general election. I have with me one of the most seasoned Chunaav ke journalists ever, Rajdeep Sardesai. Rajdeep, we've spoken about India, which is the alliance of the opposition. Let's talk about the 38 of the NDA.
But while we talk about 38 parties, and that seems like a huge number, here's the reality. 24 have 0 Lok Sabha MPs, 7 have 1 Lok Sabha MP, and 2 have 2 Lok Sabha MPs. So effectively the maths is 38 minus 24 minus 7 minus 2 equals 5. So 5 have become 38. That is also partly true of the India alliance, right? Relatively speaking, one alliance has the Congress as its pivot.
Right.
The other alliance has the BJP as the dominant partner. Whether it's basically, the alliance picture is centered around Mr. Modi. The rest
It was very clear. It was very clear in the meeting as well.
That's right.
It was all about Mr. Modi. But do you think somewhere down the line, with the mala of him coming in, with the presentation of the bouquets, all of that, but do you think possibly the BJP maybe not ruffled but a little wary and worried? Otherwise, I want to ask you, why would the BJP time the NDA meet on the same day as the India meet? Why would the Prime Minister in the morning possibly mount one of the fiercest attacks on the opposition?
Well, look, let's be honest. The Prime Minister and his team of analysts and his strategists are masters when it comes to event management. They are masters when it comes to primetime TV. What happens? The India alliance has its function right through the day. By the time it's 7 o'clock in the evening, so-called prime time, Mr. Modi has taken over. It was certainly time to steal the thunder away from the opposition alliance. But I don't think it's about being rattled. I think the Modi-Shah BJP is not complicit.
True.
They want to use 2024 to send out a message that, look, we are going to dominate. This is area domination. Carpet bombing, call it what you will. We will completely decimate the opposition if possible, and therefore wherever likely, like in my home state of Maharashtra, break the opposition if need be, and if so required, actually become flexible enough to embrace a Chirag Paswan, as the Prime Minister did, the same Chirag Paswan who was turfed out of his father's residence a year ago. So I think there's flexibility, there's no complacency, but it is Modi-centric,
Well, it is Modi-centric, and why not so? Because he is their biggest winning ticket when it comes down to an election. But Rajdeep, all the charges that are made about dynastic politics, let's look at this new NDA. JJP, LJP, Apna Dal, Ajit Pawar Alliance. You have 4 that have counted. I'm sure there are more as well.
Someone sent me a list, and this is of course a very tentative list of various leaders within the NDA fold, either present or past, who've been dynast. Ajit Pawar has joined them. Yeah. You could say he's the dynast. Chirag Paswan dynast. Sukhbir Singh Badal, when the Akalis were part of, when they were part, were certainly dynast. Jyotiraditya Scindia, whom you've embraced, and within your fold, the likes of Basavaraj Bomai, son of S.R. Bomai, Jyotiraditya Scindia, Piyush Goyal.
So the list goes on.
The list goes on. Even Devendra Fadnavis's father was an MLA in Maharashtra.
The list goes on, especially also even when you talk about the corrupt taint, there have been enough. Ajit Pawar for once, and in terms of the corruption taint, only 2 weeks ago you had the Prime Minister rake up the entire issue. But that aside.
But Mr. Modi himself is not a dynast.
Yes,
you see,
and that's important.
So when your central figure is not a dynast,
that's important.
That makes a huge difference. Now the problem that the other side, the India alliance has, is that who's their central figure, and if their central figure is not a dynast, then I don't think Mr. Modi can play the Kamdar versus Namdar politics. But at the moment, he can say, look at me, forget all the others.
It's all against Modi.
It's all against
Modi. The 38th is just a numeric figure there, at least for now. Yeah. At least for now, and we'll know how things pan out possibly when the winter elections scoreboard comes up. But I want to ask you, Rajdeep, for someone who's avidly reported, documented, watched politics, what's the difference? Because we did hear the Prime Minister Modi invoke Vajpaye's NDA era. What was Vajpaye's NDA? What is Modi's NDA?
Look, first of all, Vajpaye's BJP did not have a majority.
True.
Vajpaye's BJP was a 182-member party versus a 303-member BJP under Mr. Modi, who's had 2 consecutive majorities. So Mr. Vajpaye's NDA was a coalition of the truest sense. This is a BJP-led government where you have a few sprinkling of parties to only give the impression, especially, that we have presence in the northeast, we have some presence in the south, to give an all-India feel. In Mr. Vajpaye's NDA, it was an interesting gathering because you had the likes of George Fernandes. Here was George Fernandes, socialist, seen to be, hard, secular, embracing Mr. Vajpaye. You had Mamta Banerjee, mercurial as ever, not knowing what Mamta will do next. She was also in the room. For a while, so was Jayalalitha, another mercurial woman politician. I'm not saying all women are mercurial politicians, but I'll tell you what one woman politician once told me when I asked her this. She said, to survive in a male-dominated political world, you have to be unpredictable because you've got to put the opposite, your male counterparts on the defensive.
I don't think it's just politics. It's every field.
It's in every field.
Every field, journalism.
Yeah, okay. Not going to say too much on that.
Go ahead.
But you see, it therefore had interesting figures. Both the Janata Party of the 1970s that eventually crumbled rather quickly, and the early NDA of Mr. Vajpaye had contradictions. But I think Mr. Vajpaye's nature as a consensual figure was brilliant in managing the contradiction. You see, Mr. Vajpaye's strength was that he never tried to bully any of his allies. And he would use the likes of Pramod Mahajan. Pramod Mahajan would play that role of reaching out, whenever there was a party or a dinner. Vajpayee's birthday, there would always be a party at...
You've ever attended?
Yeah. Pramod Mahajan...
You've attended a party on Vajpayee's
Absolutely.
birthday. Give us a story on one of his birthday.
No, what the story...
What was served?
The good news is that Pramod Mahajan was the person in charge.
Was it vegetarian or non-vegetarian?
No, Pramod was very clear that when the Prime Minister came, and first of all, Mr. Vajpaye himself was a non-vegetarian through much of his life.
And he said it openly.
Yeah, but I think by then he mainly used to, because of health reasons, would mainly eat vegetarian food. But the entire house, one of the bungalows where this party was held was, razzle dazzle, created. Pramod Mahajan was also a bit of an event manager, so he created an event, got catering, private catering.
Was alcohol served?
Once Mr. Vajpaye left the
Then
party,
alcohol was served.
I don't remember alcohol, but non-veg certainly
Non-veg
was.
was served after Mr.
No,
Vajpaye.
non-veg. So after he left.
Okay.
But again, those were the days when food habits were also more eclectic. You weren't looked at kya kha rahe ho, meat kha rahe ho kind of thing. Mostly BJP usually serves Mosambi juice. In the party headquarters, they would serve Mosambi juice and vegetarian food. But you occasionally had someone like Venkaiah Naidu, who loved his prawn, and therefore, like a good Andhraite, would make sure that the best prawn was flown in whenever he had a dinner at his house.
Okay, we are digressing. This is food and this is party.
No,
Let's get back to the
But you see,
NDA.
food is good because food unites people, right?
Yeah.
George Fernandes and Vajpaye and Mamta may have differences politically, ideologically at times, but if they sit across a table having diverse food, it's one way of getting along. Interestingly, you had also within his own party someone who was virtually, of the same stature, at least for the party's rank and file, i.e. L.K. Advani, who eventually became Deputy Prime Minister. And I think one of Vajpayee's challenges were not just managing the allies, but managing Mr. Advani also.
Why is
Because Mr. Advani also had his ambitions, I guess. And it's a remarkable relationship. It is truly the Jai Viru relationship of Indian politics. Remember Naveen Patnaik, who today is playing a role almost like Switzerland, a complete neutral, trying to play neutral to whatever extent he can.
Neutral to India.
Yeah, in those early years. Early years was very much part of Vajpayee's government. You see, Vajpayee's very nature attracted these people in a way perhaps that Advani would not have, because Advani was so closely identified with the Babri demolition. Mr. Modi is he knows his audience. You've got to give him credit for that. In terms of his communication, he recognizes who is the audience that he's speaking to. Had he been speaking to a BJP audience, he would have probably spoken in a very different language.
Right.
When he's speaking to a coalition partners, he's speaking very differently. But I thought it's interesting that he didn't mention Ajit Pawar. He
was there. It's not that
he was
wasn't.
there,
Yeah.
but there was no sort of embrace of
But there's
Ajit
a picture,
Pawar.
no, finally, which has been released.
Is there a
There's
picture of embracing?
Of Mr. Pawar offering a bouquet of flowers to Prime Minister Modi. It's finally been released.
Okay, but the body language is of a bouquet
Of a
versus, embracing Chirag Paswan. I mean,
Okay.
body
Now
language.
you're reading too much. Going ahead from here on, do you see this? Is this a one-off meeting to maybe event manage and counter India, which is the alliance? Do you see now at least the BJP realizing that it needs, even if that small incremental vote, that possibly these zero parties which have no MP MLAs, but the votes that they can possibly swing? Has the BJP realized their importance now?
I would say that this is plan B of the BJP. Plan
Okay.
A is let's get 300 seats like we got last time so that it's a BJP dominant government. If things were to go wrong, especially in some crucial states like Karnataka, like Maharashtra and Bihar, where the BJP did very well last time, and for some reason we fall below 272, then let's have enough allies on board. Politics, I'm told, is all about the art of the possible.
Right.
And in India, anything is possible. So lots of, the table could only possibly get bigger, both of the
smaller.
NDA and of the other side. Who knows? Where will the Mercurial Mayawati go? She's been very silent, but who knows?
What happens with the BRS?
I remember my Hindi was so bad once that when Mayawati did her first alliance with the BJP mid 1990s, I'm in Lucknow and we are doing a live program and I was doing it in Hindi. And because there was with me was Lalji Tandon, who was the BJP leader of UP, elderly gent, who was very close, was the one who was negotiating with Mayawati. So I was trying to understand what do I say कि आपने मायावती के साथ गठबंधन किया है. So गठबंधन word in those days. So I say आपने मायावती के साथ एक शादी कर दी है. So he looked at me and was really sort of who is this sort of Mumbai.
Those were forgiving days of journalism, because if I was to say that of any of us, we'd be sacked overnight. How can you say Shadi Karni?
No, because there was this buzz in that Mayawati had made Lalji his Rakhi, her Rakhi brother.
So there's a huge difference between Shadi
I
and
know.
Rakhi.
Look, those were days when my Hindi was struggling. It's much better
It's
now.
much better. He does a lot of.
I know all the words now. Gatbandhan.
Gatha.
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 Like
Bandhan,
a Jat.
yes.
She's a Jat.
No, it's Jatter.
Jatter.
And Tha. Okay, we'll do the ters and thers of Hindi later. But thank you for joining us. But we're going to see you soon. Very soon. Because this is going to continue.